These goats are all gonna have babies, or we're hoping for babies in May. A couple of them are just, their bellies are getting really fat. So yeah, we're gonna have lots of babies. That's always fun. Sometimes we end up bottle feeding babies too, but that's fun too. But we used to have them have their babies like in March, and April, somewhere in there, and it would always be cold, and yeah, we'd have to put heat lamps on them and stuff. And then one year we had heat lamps on them, and the one goat dumped the heat lamp down, or we think that's pretty sure what caused it. Ended up burning the shed down. And yeah, we lost some goats and a couple dogs, and I think one horse maybe. We have many horses over here, and that's just the 3 mini horses we have. And we used to have a stallion, but he kind of got old on us. But yeah, we used to have babies every year, but now they're all, like the first one there, she's up 20, she's getting close to 30, so she's getting pretty old.
Yeah, the feeders we use to feed milk to our calves, we feed them in groups. We have the brand of them is called Milk Bar, and they have 6 nipples on the front. They have a couple different sizes, but the ones we have 6 nipples on, and every so often we change the nipples. We usually do it between maybe every 3 or 4 groups. We'll start with the same feeder, then we put new nipples on. Whenever they start leaking and don't hold water anymore, or milk, if they start leaking milk. So yeah, I need to change these nipples on this feeder. And the nipples that we put in, they pull through. I'll try to show you a little bit more here as I'm doing it. But so when you go to change them, you have to cut them off of the front here, and then when you put new ones in, you kind of pull them through the hole, and they have a spot that snaps into place. But I'll see if I can get this set up and get a video of it. You got to pop the little pieces back in that are sticking in the other side. They come in individually packaged little boxes, and yeah, if you pull the nipple out, you can see, I don't know if you can see how good you can see, but right there's a little groove that kind of pulls through and snaps into place. Then this is on the inside, that's where the milk goes in, and this is a nipple that sticks out that the calf sucks on. Clean the bottom of the feeder out good whenever we have them open like this. If we don't change the nipples in between groups, we always fill them up with warm water and put Clorox in them. Put some Clorox in it, and make sure we get some Clorox water pulled out into each of the nipples, and let them sit for a couple hours, and then come back and yeah, rinse them all out good and pump water through. Pump water through the nipples good to get them good and cleaned out. And yeah, whenever we put the new nipples in, if you make them wet, it helps. They're pretty hard to pull one out through, because yeah, they don't want them coming out of place. The company that makes these nipples is called Peach Teat. They make nipples that'll snap on top of a regular bottle that you feed calves. They make a couple different nipples, but they also make this kind that fit in the Milk Bar nipples, or the Milk Bar feeders. I really like the Peach Teat nipple better than the regular Milk Bar nipple. I'm not sure why. I never had the best of luck with the regular Milk Bar nipples, but anyhow, yeah. So if you get them started part way out through. And then it works best if you have something, if you put on a glove, or just have some little piece of paper or cardboard and kind of grab a hold of each one, kind of flip them upside down, put your knee on and grab a hold of each one and just tug on it if they slip right out through. If you try to get a hold of it with your bare hand, it usually just slides right off. This is actually a tag off of a milk replacer bag that I'm using. Found out that works pretty slick. And there's a certain way they're supposed to be turned down inside. We try to make sure they're pretty close to right before you pull them through, but once you're done pulling them through, you want to make sure they're all turned the right way. And part of that is they're designed the way they fit inside here, but they fit better inside if they're turned right, but also the way the holes are, the openings on the nipples, if they're not turned right, when they go to suck on them, they don't work. The milk will come out a lot slower if they're not turned right. Anyway, that job's all done. My daughter's got a couple more calves tagged, ready to put in a stall, so not sure if she'll do that yet this afternoon or tomorrow morning, but yeah, like I said there before, we probably raise on an average of 3 groups of calves, and well, before we change the nipples. And so if a group of calves is on milk close to 8 weeks, that would be close to 6 months for 3 groups. We probably only change nipples twice a year on these feeders. But yeah, anyhow, here's the calves we have right now. That's the youngest group. They're probably average of a week to 10 days old. This is the next group. That one little small one in there was a twin. She was a twin, the heifer calf, and her twin was born, something wasn't quite right with her. She never did stand up, and her one leg was a little deformed or something. So yeah, she didn't make it, but she's pretty small. We're trying to keep an eye on her and make sure she's okay in this group here. But yeah, then on down through here, these are getting a little bit older as we go down through. They're probably 3 weeks old in that group. This is the next oldest group. Yeah. And this group over here, they're probably about 6 weeks old. We just started weaning them the other day, so another 10 days or so they'll be totally weaned. Yesterday on Friday was a wet day, so we did some maintenance here on our one skid loader. There was a couple things that needed some attention. This shock spring, I don't know, it's kind of a spring, but it looks like a shock. There's one on the door. It was getting bad, so it's made so when you open the door, it holds the door open, and so we replaced that. And there's also one here on there's a lap bar, kind of an armrest bar they call it, that when you get in the skid loader, you flip down, it automatically unlocks the brake when you do that, and it has one of them spring shocks on it too, and that was not holding anymore. Well, if you put it the whole way up and held it a little bit, it would stay, unless you're on a little bit of a grade, and then it would fall back down. So yeah, sometimes you had to be careful. You flipped it up and went to crawl out, it was starting to come back down, and you'd bump your head on it. But yeah, right here's the old fan blade. It's not supposed to look like that. we were having trouble on our skid loader. It wasn't getting fuel right, and we had changed the fuel filter. We had changed I forget, there was all kinds of stuff we changed on it, and still we're having issues with it. And you'd pull the line off right where it goes into the filter, the fuel line, and there was fuel spraying out of there. And the company that sells them told me to try one more thing. There was like an elbow right where it goes into the fuel filter, and they said sometimes they've seen where a little piece of dirt or something got stuck in that elbow. So I had a DeWalt battery powered flashlight there in my skid loader, and I took that all apart, and sure enough, there was a speck of dirt in there. Just a little thing, probably the size of the lead in a regular wooden pencil. Yeah. And as far as how big around it was, and maybe, I don't even know if it was barely a quarter of an inch long, just enough that it couldn't make it around that elbow and was restricting the flow of the fuel going into the filter. But anyway, make a long story short, when I got done working on it, I forgot to get my flashlight out, and I started my skid loader up, and all of a sudden I heard it making a noise back there, and I knew what it was. The flashlight fell down into the fan and chewed some of the blades all up and kind of made a mess out of it. And new fan on the skid loader, there's just 4 bolts in there that hold it on. There's a cage that goes around it to protect it, but where I had my flashlight laying was up on top here, and it just fell down right inside here against the fan blade. But it wasn't terrible changing it. It wasn't the easiest job. There's 4 bolts down here that hold this whole cage on. I had to take loose. The worst was you couldn't get to 2 of them very good, but that's kind of the way it is on a lot of this newer equipment. But yeah, then take them 4 bolts out and replace it, and we're good to go. Cows are all lined up down through here eating. Yeah, don't real often get a video of them in here in the daylight, because I usually feed in the morning. But I'm on my skid loader coming up through the barn. My oldest son was away this afternoon, so I finished up the feeding and ran the silage out. Yeah, we're up here at our what we call our old heifer barn. It's where we move the calves into when they're weaned. Getting ready to scrape it out here today and bed the pens. And maybe should have closed the curtain up a little bit. It's kind of windy, or it's really windy today. It was kind of chilly here earlier today, and calves look like their hair's kind of standing up, like they're feeling a little cold. But no, they'll be all right. It's a lot nicer out now as far as temperature wise. Yeah, we scrape this barn out twice a week. We have gates down through here. You just go down and close, and then scrape out the alley and put some straw in all the pens and bed them up, and put a little bit of shavings in the alleyway so it stays a little cleaner for them. It don't get too sloppy in here. We try to keep our calves clean and dry. Yeah, I found out a long time ago that it goes a long ways, and especially the younger calves, keeping them good and healthy. If you keep them clean and dry, if you let their bedding get all wet and soiled, the ammonia builds up a lot worse in the barns and in the pens, and yeah, they have a lot more respiratory trouble. Years ago, when we put this original manure pit in, we kind of built it here in the center of everything, and well, actually it was in before we built our one heifer barn. This heifer barn here was built before we made this pit bigger. I think I mentioned this before. When we first dug this pit, it was just an earthen pit, and that's probably close 30 years ago now, and it wasn't near big enough. We'd have to haul about once a month, but it was certainly nicer. We never had a manure pit before that, so we had to clean stuff up and haul it out, so at least a couple times a week. But yeah, then we put this manure pit in and kind of put it here near the barnyard, and then we built our freestall barn. It's up there on the other side. There's a pump that there's a reception pit in the end of that freestall barn, and there's a pump in that reception pit that pumps it over into the pit. It's set on a timer. It automatically kicks on twice a day. It's a big piston pump and pumps it over. We have it set on a timer that it kicks on and pumps it over about the same time when we're getting the cows down to milk. And that works really nice, because it then you can kind of keep an eye on, make sure everything's working right. Yeah, then this barn here was already built, this heifer barn, but it's probably 10 or 12 feet away from it, that we can scrape right out of it into the pit. And then the other heifer barn up there we call our new heifer barn, and we designed it that we can scrape right into it too. So it's kind of centrally located. It works pretty slick, but it does kind of block you in if you ever want to add on to any of the barns, or if you ever want to do anything else here. But it is really nice how everything's right close. yeah, you can see the alleys here. This is a bigger pen here where I just started out. It gets a little dirtier than the rest, but the rest of the alley don't get too dirty in between when we scrape it out. By doing it more often like this, we don't have to use a lot of straw. We put about 2 or 3 slices off of a big square bale in each pen and just spread them around. The biggest pen down at the end, we bed them with sawdust in them pens. And yeah, but the rest of the pens we put straw in for the younger ones. Out here at the end of this scrape alley, we had a pipe welded here across the top to keep the skid loader or anything from falling in, and it broke off here a while back. I got some pipes laying here we need to get mounted with. We have some clamps to put it on. So yeah, you just got to be careful when you're pulling out here to dump it in the pit. But yes, we do need to get that done. So if anybody noticed that, I just figured I'd say that too. Yeah, and I just show this yet too. We do have a gate that we close that, yeah, so if we have any heifers get out or anything, it's not like that's wide open all the time, but just whenever we scrape the barns. Not sure how good this will pick up. It's pretty windy here today, breezy. It's about the only nice day we're having this week. We're talking about some rain almost every day except for today. And today's nice and sunny and breezy. I wish we'd have a couple of these in a row right now, but that's okay. Yeah, this is what we get our soybean seed in. It's called a seed tender, and the seed comes in these boxes. There's 2 boxes on here, and then there's like an auger and a big tube there you can move to put it into the planter boxes, and it's pretty nice. Most of our seed, or all of our seed corn at this point, still comes in bags. I don't know if we'll ever get to the point of getting them in boxes or not, but that would be nice too. But we're planting soybeans today where we took some of our triticale off. We're no-tilling them into the stubble here. These seed boxes on this seed tender work really slick. The bottom part, there's like a hopper down in there, and you set them on top of here, and there's a see if I can get anything video in underneath here. Maybe not. Yeah, I should have took some video before we set it on here, but there's like a little rubber flange that it sets down on that it goes right into. And then this big tubing here, it flexes up at the top, and you can pull it out wherever you need it to be. And help the flow out through the tubes better, like a black powder. I forget what is even in it right now. But yeah, it helps keep everything flowing better and keeps the seed corn from wearing on the rubber or plastic tubings and stuff that it blows out through to get down to the row unit. Here's what it looks like flowing into the hopper. And here's mixing all that powder in. I had mentioned about it's graphite and talcum powder. And once you mix a little in, once your planter starts moving, I mean, you want to get some of it mixed in, but it kind of works itself through all the seed. It's not like you have to worry about having it completely all mixed up.
Here's some of our cats here on our porch. But anyways, I have to show you this. This little one here is one of the ones that was out at the barn that was in the corner of the calf stall, and we rescued it, and then the mom moved them back again. But anyhow, the mom wasn't taking care of them, so we got this mom has 4 orange babies, and they're back here. Yeah, you can see them back there. And the other ones didn't make it. The other 3 didn't make it, but this one did. And so we just put this one in with her babies, and yeah, she doesn't care. Yeah, she takes care of them. Anyhow, they're in here on the porch behind the door, well taken care of.